up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy.
Well, welcome, Daylight Burners. Happy Friday to everybody on Patreon that's watching along live. This will be our Monday. We're gonna start out the show for the main Burning Daylight podcast feed. This will be the first thing they get on Mondays. So I'm looking forward to this. With me, I've got Tommy Gesell. He's the guy that came up with this idea. He's a horse trainer, cowboy, originally from Texas, out of South Carolina now. Tommy, how the hell are you, man?
I'm doing well, Matt. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. We got Jake Torgeson. He's out of, are you Washington or Oregon? Washington, right? He's frozen up there. I don't.
Yep.
Oh,
He's from Washington.
All right. I thought he was Washington. Anyway, and then we also got Cliff Schadt joining the show. And Dan, what's your last name?
This is Dan Moltion.
Moltons. All right. Jake's back now. All right. And you're in Maryland right now?
I'm in Maryland for the summer, Ocala, Florida for the winter, and New York born. Both of us are New York born.
Hell yeah. All right.
Don't hold it against me.
I won't yet. And then Hawaii joining back in with the slow internet. Jake Torgeson out of Washington.
Hey boys.
Yeah, so this was kind of Tommy's idea. We got it's either Gary or Jerry Cox maybe popping in at some point. If he does, we'll welcome him in and see what he's got to say. If not, well, he missed out on a great conversation because we should have started recording earlier, but we didn't. It's how it always happens. But anyway, Burning Daylight show is it's kind of it's just a traveling shit show is what it is, and I enjoy every minute of it. So Tommy had this idea and he posted it on Facebook. There's a lot of different ways to start a young horse. And he wanted to have not a debate because and I'll let Tommy kind of explain that here in a minute, but debating or talking about different styles of doing anything in the horse world can very quickly turn into a heated debate. And starting young horse is one of those topics. But as we were talking earlier, is it's hard to get guys that you really respect to debate other guys that you really respect, because more often than not, they end up agreeing on just about everything because they've seen just about everything. All the guys that I really respect have been a little bit of everywhere and done a little bit of everything. And they have their own style, but they're not opposed to a different style, especially if that guy can pick up two, you know. And that's kind of how the cowboy world goes. So when you're wanting to debate a particular topic, it's kind of hard to do. And when you're not wanting to debate a particular topic, you get drug into most of the time a useless debate that doesn't solve anything, because the people that scream the loudest don't know a goddamn thing. And so anyway, we're gonna do kind of a somewhere in the middle of a debate, a round table, and a good old Burning Daylight bull session. And I'm pretty fucking excited about this, fellas. So are you all ready?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So as I said, Tommy's Tommy's kind of the lead on this one, but since I'm hosting it and I rode a lot of young horses. I'll never call myself a trainer. I've got on some pretty nasty ones. I've got on some pretty nice ones. Had some of them really kick the shit out of me. Had some of them that I thought I did a really good job on. I was really proud of. And then I've been on a lot of pukes that people thought way too much of. And I haven't sold anything worth a whole lot of money, but I've sold some that worth a little bit of money, you know. And then I've turned some out to the sale. So I think I know a little bit about what we're talking about, but I am far from an expert. I've just been on a lot of them. How good I am, that depends on who's paid me. So,
same for the rest of us.
The one thing I have learned is when you're riding young horses, you got to be on your toes all the time, and not literally on your toes, because if you're on your toes, you're probably getting bucked over the front end, which fairly safe. I mean, it's not great, but it's better than getting bucked off the back
Better
end.
than the back end.
Yep. Side's the best. Side's the best. Front's the next, and then back end's almost the worst, but underneath is by far the worst. Anyhow, you got to be on your toes. You got to be on edge all the time, and you got to be ready for anything. So, here you go. Tommy, give me 30 seconds. What your style of training young horses is, and what you want to learn from what you want to put forward in this discussion and what you want to learn from this discussion. 30 seconds, go.
A big philosophy of mine when starting a young horse is don't doubt them of not being able to do anything. I mean, within reason, of course, conformation, breed, etc. That's just my approach too when I'm starting one and bringing one up, is just don't doubt them and always challenge them. And you'll find 9 times out of 10, they're going to do what you're asking of them, even if it's their first time. So that's a big part of my philosophy when it goes into starting young horses.
All right. Good enough.
30 seconds.
Actually, I didn't even have my timer pulled up, but I think that was about 30 seconds if I had to judge it. So we'll call it good. Jake, you're up. Ready, go.
Oh, there's not much philosophy for us starting Colts. We get them to the point where they got 5-10 rides, a G and a Hon, maybe a 1 rein stop, and they're going to work. The best way to get one broke is to use them. And I'm no professional. I've rode lots of nags, and that's just the way we do it. And the expensive horses, cheap horses, that's up there, all the same. So, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Good enough. Right at 30 seconds. There you go. All right. Cliff or Dan, who wants to go first?
I'll lay it out there. For me, it's just try to keep things as simple as you can. Do as little as you can, and but be prepared to give as much as you have to kind of keep things on track and going forward. Try to build a partnership with a horse. I do believe you can have that, but everything's going to be based on, there's got to be boundaries to everything. And, biggest sin people make, I think, sometimes is loving a horse too much.
Boom. Right at 30 seconds. Like right as the timer went off. Like, good work.
I think
all right,
mine's
Dan. Oh, go ahead.
Mine's about knowing how the horse's brain works and how the horse's brain functions. We push more and pull less, and we talk the language that they do. We can end up doing less and making them feel more confident in their feet and confident in the way that they know. And in the first couple of rides, they can go out and go to work.
Boom.
Agreed.
I like that. Shortened to the point. He's got 10 seconds left that he could have done, but he just said, "Fuck off." I put on that out. I like it. I like it.
Don't waste time.
Hell yeah. Oh, and then Bret, you're up now.
So my deal is, I'm real mechanical, and so I say trust the program. I've built a program that works. It works on all of them, and sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less time. But if you just trust the program and you stay with the mechanical elements of working with their conformation, they're going to turn out. That's my plan.
Hell yeah. And Bret, I apologize for that.
No worries.
You weren't
No
on the
worries.
screen, so I spaced it. But anyway, if you want to give anybody a little kind of brief background for you.
I'm Bret, and I ride Colts.
Perfect. Bret Davis, folks. I like it. Yeah, so there we go. I think we're all kind of on the same page. But Tommy, since this was kind of you were the first one to put it out there in the ether. Why don't you lead off and kind of set the tone where you want to go, and then we'll like I said, then it turns into a Burnin Daylight bull session.
You're putting pressure on me now. So anyway, the way this came about was Jerry Cox had mentioned that he wanted to hear more about bringing up young horses, and then it just turned into comments, and I'd mentioned that I wish I could do a roundtable with a bunch of horsemen like we have now, and just sit there and talk about bringing up young horses, and really, I guess, letting Gary kind of understand where we're coming from, because it was his question originally. So that's kind of where Matt and I got together, and I presented this idea, and hell, it might not be worth shit, but we got to try it. And I've talked to all of y'all except Dan. I haven't talked to Dan before. And I think pretty much we're all on the same page when it comes up to bringing up young horses. We all have our different methods, and some of our methods might, somebody might have an opinion on someone else's method, but they understand the end result. And as long as it's not damaging the horse's brain, then, why not try and not push these young horses, but challenge them. And I guess that would be the thing is challenge these young horses. And even with the older horses, it's somebody will say, do you think that horse has ever done that before? And I said, I don't know. Why don't we try? And I don't doubt that horse can do it. It might take a little bit to get him through it, but I think
if one horse can do it, another one can.
Yeah. And I think, all of y'all understand that it, most of the time, I wouldn't say a horse is scared. I would say that they just don't want to do it, and they have their reasons, and who knows what those are. But we know the difference between a horse that doesn't want to do it and a young horse that is truly scared of something. And so we got to approach them two different ways. And of course, working with one that's scared, that's where you kind of need to take some steps back, in my opinion. But the ones that just don't want to do it, if you stay committed and tactful to what you're asking of them, you're going to get it accomplished, and probably a lot quicker than what you think or what that colt's giving you the impression of. And I guarantee once they come over that first that challenge you present to them, they start looking for them, and I start looking for them as well. And to me, that's a big part of bringing up. I don't have cows to work. That's one thing that I really miss with the young horses is having cows to work every day. I don't have that now. What I've got is woods. I've got, creeks, swamps, dikes, deer, just all kinds of stuff in the woods that would scare a horse. And I just look at it as a bunch of
literally anything.
Yeah.
Literally
anything. I mean,
when we're talking dikes, are we talking big scary women with bad haircuts?
I'm glad you said it. I thought
I'm really hoping so. I mean,
because if I was riding through the woods and I found one of those, I'd be scared.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I turn my horse and run.
Y'all ever watch that show Orange is the New Black?
No.
No, I don't know how shows work.
Oh, well, anyway, this gal's about 5'6" and about 300 pounds with a buzz cut and wears a wife beater. And you can, if you imagine her like jumping out of from behind a tree like some sort of bridge troll.
Where's the hamburger?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a horse, I'd fucking run. I'd fucking run.
Sorry to throw that joke in there, Tommy. You were talking.
No,
about
God,
serious
no.
shit, but I couldn't help it.
No, you know, Bret, you know me. Sometimes you got to do something to break the seriousness of
That's
it.
right.
'Cause I get a little bit serious about it, but you know, that's just something I'm wholeheartedly believe in. Is just treat them. Not, I don't want to say treat them like they're made, because that kind of gives you a different mindset, but maybe approach them like they're made. And I know that's a slight variation, but
no, that's a lot of good trainers have told me that over the years. Old school trainers said, treat them like they're broken, they'll act that way. And if they want to act like whores, treat them like a whore.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of, I think that's what you're saying, Tommy, is
it
not
is.
treat them like they're made, but treat them like they're broke. If you don't want to act broke, fuck you then. Then we'll
and then that's when that's when the learning comes is when they start being pricks, and that's, you know, what I kind of like sometimes is I don't want to deal with it all day, but I like when, you know, a young horse decides to kind of turn into a prick and really pushes your patience. And, you know, to me, bringing up young horses involves a lot of patience. And we know where we want these horses to go. We just know it takes some time to get there. But when they are being, you know, obstinate, that's where I really like to push myself and to see how patient and tactful I can be with these horses. And it's not saying that oh, I'm going to trick you, I'm better than you. It's just, you're going to get more done if you believe you can get it done, because you're just not doubting that horse. And then after that, you know, today I was riding one that was being kind of a prick, but I just kept riding him, and eventually he just settled right in and rode lovely. Not a young horse, he's a made horse, but still they're always in training. But anybody else want to chime in on that one?
You're understanding where they're coming from, it sounds like.
It's I'm sure we can all agree here, except maybe Bret, because I know he likes to read a lot. I've always said that I can read a horse better than a book, and that's kind of what I don't want to say pride myself on, but I went out last weekend and worked with a bunch of people and their horses that I didn't know these horses from Adam, but the minute, you know, and this is something I go by, is the minute you put a foot in the stirrup, you know what you're sitting on, and you know how to ride, you know how to approach them, because you've been on so many different types that you've learned how to read these horses. And it doesn't matter. I don't care if they're riding them in a stock saddle, in a English saddle, dressage saddle. They're just horses. Those are just saddles. But you still, I think as a trainer and as a horseman, it's nice to be able to ride all three of those saddles, because when you're giving clinics or you're teaching a big group, there's going to be a whole mix of saddles in there. And we're getting a little off topic here, but still, you know, it's about reading the horse. And
well, and the only thing I'd want to throw in on that, Tommy, is because, you know, I agree. We can all read a horse very good or really well. But then you throw the other human in there, because there's their human there, or even like in my situation, a lot of times where I'm just, you know, I'm taking in outside colts, or Cliff and Dan are kind of doing the same thing. We're taking in these outside colts, and, you know, so we don't have their human, but we know that they're reacting off of their human. And so we're having to read that too. And that makes, I think, at least for the first couple of days, makes it a little hard to read that horse, because they're reading us off of what they're used to. And we're trying to say, no, I'm not like that guy. And
totally,
so I think for at least, like I say, at least a couple of days we're having it, and some of them are some of them are real fucked up. I'm riding one right now that he's got some baggage, some serious baggage, and we're like 30 days where he's finally figured out I'm a different kind of cat than what he's used to. But I think, yeah, we're reading that horse, but we're also reading a lot of the baggage that they pack with them, and that's not fun, but it's part of the job, you know.
Yeah, and so what I'm understanding, like when you say that, yeah, we've also got to understand how they're responding to what we're asking of them. And I just forgot the word I was trying to think of to kind of put that together. But yeah, that totally makes sense. Feel. It involves so much feel to kind of understand that horse he was ridden a different way or started a different way than what you're doing. It's going to take him a little bit to get used to that. And so you've got to learn to make the adjustments. And I guess not necessarily a compromise unless they're really prick. You make some compromise with them to get something done. But, the young horses I've started, I've only had a few of those. And most of the time they've just been agreeable. And then I've had some that, of course, yeah, you could tell someone else has sat on that horse and you got to either a big problem to deal with, or you've got a week of trying to figure these horses out, and then you can finally start getting something done with them.
Well, or like for this conversation, and let's fill in everybody else. What was that, 2 years ago when I bought that bay horse from you?
Yeah.
I bought a bay horse for Tommy that just didn't fit his program. He was a good horse, and he just didn't fit Tommy's program. Tommy told me, yeah, hell, this good horse just didn't fit my program. I bought him from him, and that horse also had some other baggage beyond when Tommy had ever got his hands on him. And this wasn't necessarily a young horse. He was what was he, 5 or 6?
No, he just come 5.
Was he 5? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they broke him until he was like 4.
Right. And so, like I still only know Tommy over the phone, but we'd only spoken 3 or 4 times over the phone when I bought that horse. When it was all said and done, I had a lot better idea of who Tommy was as a human after I'd been around that horse for 10 days or 2 weeks or something like that. That horse showed me the humanity he was used to. He showed me just the persona he was used to. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm saying we're also having to deal with when we're with these young horses is that they're packing baggage, whether it's good or bad. In the case of this bay horse, it was good.
It's a good perspective. If I could add to that, I think I'm relating to what Tommy's saying about kind of developing that feel and almost an empathy for the horse that you can feel what he's felt and what he's used to, and
empathy is a great word.
Empathy is a great word for that.
Yes, sir. And I think that for me, I realize my feel has extended beyond just reading the horse. I've gotten really good at reading the people that call me about the horse, and I can tell you within, and Dan can back me up on this, I could tell you within probably 95% certainty exactly what that horse's problems are going to be and what we're going to encounter along the way and how we're going to fix it. And it's something I've kind of kept track of because I've kind of gotten surprised at myself at being so good now at reading a short conversation with someone and just asking a few key questions and being able to put together what to expect in that horse, and then not being let down when I get the horse. And that's kind of the neat part for me, is that so not only has my feel increased with my horses, but in a desire to fix my horses, my feel has increased in my ability to read these people and even have some empathy there. Because I don't want to just throw every lady that gives her horse treats and really loves her horse. I don't want to throw her under the bus and be like, well, you're just a horse hugging crazy. She just really loves her horse.
We all want to, because that's easier.
Yeah. It is easier, but the truth is a lot of those people, if you take the time to actually explain the whys and how good it is for their horse, a lot of them give up the treats. A lot of them try better. They're still going to wreck their horse, but you know what? They're at least trying to do better. And I've seen it a lot.
They're doing the best that they know how to do. And that's a big deal. And to them, what they're doing is the best they know how to do until they know better or they see better. And it's funny because I've been right next to him while we've had a story, sometimes a vague story, like, oh, well,
this happened and
this
reared
happened,
up and
this
flipped over
once
for no
happened
reason.
once. And we kind of ignore the event, but the horse will really tell us
He tells
what
his
the
own
root
story.
what the root cause is. And
Yeah.
we kind of ignore 80% of the story. Well, we don't ignore it, but we look at it, but we understand the context that it is, because
You read between the lines, really.
you're looking at the root cause behind all the behavior issues behind, instead of actually looking at the specific event, whether it reared or it bucked or it did something in one case.
I hate to be cliche, but you know, a quote I always like, it just happened to come from Ray, but it was, I'm not interested in what happened. I'm interested in what happened before what happened. And that always stuck with me, because that's really what it is. If the horse bucked you off on Wednesday, something happened back on Monday or the weekend that led up to that event. Somewhere the leadership and the communication started to fall apart, and that's why you got bucked off your horse. That's never ever bucked before in his life. So,
it's kind of like
sense.
how do we spend $100 billion in Ukraine? We're like, well, I mean, it goes a ways back to get to where we are now. Yeah, and you know,
it didn't happen today.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess from my perspective, where like my outside horse, I haven't taken in any in a couple of years since COVID, I guess, is what last time before COVID was the last time I took in any outside horses. But I was trying to do whatever they wanted to do with their horse within the confines of what I was going to put that horse through every day. And that's riding pins, feedlot, and all. If they needed it, let's go spend some miles in the desert. But like from where my particular like the horses I'm going to keep for myself, like I don't pride myself so much as reading horses. Like I read cattle really well. That's what I do in a feedlot. I know how they're going to move, and I know how I need my horse to move. So I try to adapt my foot movement, my hand movement to where, like, you kind of have to be in their face a lot when you're riding pins. Like it's kind of the nature of the beast. But it goes back to like the old spade bit style. Like you're trying to put just a little bit of pressure with either the bit or your feet to get them to shift just a little bit. It's same idea as dressage and whatever, but like I'm reading that if I'm taking a steer out the gate, like, oh, this sucker might turn back and I need you to move like right now. So like if I jab you in the shoulder, it's because I need you to move now and I need you to move quick. It's not because you did anything wrong, but I need them to know, like, hey, this is it. But now that only happens like the first time. After that, you can make that quick movement with your thigh and not ever follow through with your spur. And like, but
they get it figured out real quick.
But it takes that first movement and that first like hard reaction, against that spur, like to get them to jump the way you want them to go. And then like, okay, that's good. Like, that's what I need you to do. And I don't know. It's, at that point, like you gotta be able to read cattle just as well as you gotta be able to read your horse, to be able to convey that message too. And it's,
well, I think you got to be able to read any situation, whether you're in a feedlot reading cattle, or whether you're on a ranch reading cattle, or you're in a dressage ring reading your ground and reading your space and time. Whether you're and Cliff and Dan, you guys can both jump in here. Whether you're in a jumping situation, you're having to read space and time, reining, space and time, cutting, reading your cat. I think it's always reading your situation. That's again to piggyback off of Cliff with I hate cliches, but it's timing and feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and what is that? Well, it's knowing where you are in space and time in regards to time. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to know where you are and where everything else is all the time.
Yeah. And your hands have got to be in sync with your mind, and that's where the feel comes in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
your situational awareness of everything going on around you, of
Where the
what
gunsel
is
kid
that?
is.
What's that bird going to make that cow do, or whatever, or what's it going to do over here, and see what's going to happen, and you got to anticipate what that colt's going to do. You're focused on the cow, because I do a lot of feedlot stuff like Matt, and you got to focus on, you're focused on getting that cow out or whatever, and you're trying to teach that horse, but all of a sudden you got a feed truck that goes whizzing by 890, and so you're trying to make that colt understand to stay calm, stay focused, and if that feed truck goes by, you just, if he blows sideways, you just go with him and keep him focused. His mind might be leaving, but keep the momentum and his body focused on going to that steer, and they kind of pick it up after a little while.
And you feedlot guys, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I've never been on a feedlot, but if you're pulling a cow 9 times out of 10, it's sick, and so that fucker's brain ain't working right anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're pulling a heavy steer, he's got a fever, so he's gonna react wrong.
Oh yeah, like 9 times out of 10, he's gonna react wrong, and especially on a young horse, you got to give him enough cushion so that you can react. Because even though you see what that steer's doing, that colt's just mind is blown, and that's where you got to be good with your feet. And sometimes you got to be aggressive with your feet to get them to move in the right direction. But also, you got to give them enough cushion. It's a lot of expectation too. Like set your expectations where they should be, and not this 8-year-old Mustang that you rescued from a kill pen is not gonna go win the snaffle bit futurity.
Right.
Well, I think that's what Tommy was started out. His whole thing saying about was that, trust that they can, believe that they can.
Yep.
But then I think this goes hand in hand with this is, expect what they actually can do.
Right.
Like, yes, you can get this job done, but you're an 8-year-old Mustang. We're not going to go win the world's greatest bridle.
Yeah. We're not going to go win money doing this in a competition. Just know that right from the get go. It depends on the horse, and realistic expectations.
Yes.
I mean,
so I had a thought while we were going through there, and it kind of popped in my head. It's sort of related to what we're talking about, but it's a little from left field as well, I think. But when we were sitting there talking about time and feel, and the word feel came up several times, empathy came up several times, and I think in that it got me thinking about, well, it's not only our ability to read the horse, but I think part of our feel extends to the idea that we control our emotions in the saddle, right? And that the better we can soften, the better that we can manage our emotions and really maintain a sense of humor through it all, really affects the outcome of a lot of situations. And and a case in point, this got, and I'm kind of bridging all over here, but before the show really started, Matt, you're mentioning about keeping your guard up with colts, and how you got to keep your guard up so that horse is ready to go to work for you. I've kind of played with this and experimented with it, and it may sound hippy-dippy to me, but I've learned to try to keep my guard down, even though it might get me bucked down in a wreck. But riding colts, especially in those first few rides, if I can keep from making that horse feel like my guard is up and I'm ready for something bad to happen, I can settle those colts' minds and settle them emotionally a lot better through that feel that kind of comes down through my body than if I'm braced up and I'm ready to go to war. And
Cliff,
I used to.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. I don't want to sound crazy saying that because I feel a little crazy saying that, but
No,
really,
I
my energy affects the outcome. You manifest what happens.
I agree 100%, and I've probably along the same timeline actually, because you and I talk a lot.
We've talked about this.
Oh no, they disappear.
No,
Uh-oh.
we're coming back. Something popped up on my screen. It's supposed to go away. There we go.
Yeah, and you know, on your point, Cliff. Yeah, it's like I say, you put a foot in the stirrup, then after that, you're just riding the horse.
And I promise you guys, I'm a hayseed kid from Oregon. I'm a bad rapper, but I'll just do silly stuff to just to relax my body because I got my mind going other places, and I find it really relaxes those horses a lot. And once in a while,
I sing stupid
once
songs,
in a while
man.
it doesn't work, and then you go into survival mode, and
yes, you do.
You know, then you grab down, kick them in the guts, and that's we all read Will James, and we all know it works.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm quick to fire my feet, but I've learned to control it a lot better than I used to.
Yeah.
And the outcome. I mean, it's literally been 10 times better, 20 times better than the outcomes I had in the past.
Yeah, and it's you know, I love to hear a horseman admit in the past, because what we are today, we weren't 10, 15, 20 years ago. And
I was fighting some bitch.
Yeah, and I'm never going to say, God, I wish I knew now or knew then what I know now, because it's been all an experience. And that you know, it's
and you have to keep yourself safe, you know, but like a boxer or an MMA fighter, they have to keep themselves safe, but at the same time they have to stay relaxed. It's really a difficult thing to do, especially
it's the most hurt. It's the most Zen Buddhist shit ever. It really is. It's like you've got to like overcome your ego. You've got to kill your ego. You've got to get to this place where you're just like, I don't really care if having my guard down kills me because this sucker bucks me down on my face. I'm willing to take that chance to have overall better outcomes through this horse. And I know that sounds crazy and a little fatalistic, but for me, that's real life.
No, you gotta.
It's total real life, and that's why there's a lot of substance involved too, with all of us.
Yeah, and when I said you gotta be on edge, like it's maybe that was the wrong phrasing, but like
I think we all understood what you meant.
Yeah, you got to be aware. Like you
lived it.
Yeah, you can't fall asleep. You know,
it's so tough to not take things personally and to get kind of on the muscle. But the more that you let the adrenaline go, the more that the horses do too. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you expect it to buck, it's probably going to buck.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Somebody asked me one time how I keep horses from bucking, and I told them it's because I don't care if they buck.
Yeah.
If they want to buck, I don't care. I
100%.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's
just the way they're trying to figure out what they're supposed to do.
I won't ever say that I can just go ahead and ride them, but I'll think I can, but I won't say it out loud. I don't want to get embarrassed, you know.
Well, I mean, that's
Well, I'm not sticky, but I'm not pretty, but I'm just afraid of hitting the ground, and so
that's the thing with me is I grew up. We didn't have a round pen. We had a square corral with and one of the gates was really washed out, so we knocked down a concrete chicken coop, and then my dad was like, "Take all those chunks of concrete over there, and we'll fill that hole in. I'll get some fill dirt, and we'll level that gate right up." Never brought in the fill dirt. And
just had the concrete.
Yeah, and so then they got spread out across that square corral, and every time you were about sideways, you were grabbing everything you could and getting right back up in the middle. So I can stay on one, but it's not pretty.
Yes. That makes me feel better even as the youngest member of the group. I don't want to hit the ground, more
Fuck
than
no.
anything. It hurts.
Yeah, it sucks. I hate it.
It doesn't matter how old you are or not. I'm the biggest son of a bitch here. You know how hard I hit the ground? There's 270 pounds.
You hurt the ground when you hit
fucking
it.
ground. You boys down south can feel it when I get bucked off. I don't like getting bucked off. It ain't no fun. But and what I found with a lot of the horses that I end up getting stuck with, and we don't start a whole lot of outside young colts from the ground up. I usually get these colts in that are, I call them colts, they're 5 to 9 years old, and we got to restart them. Is when they blow up, they're trying to figure out how to do what you're asking, or you've got them in a spot where you're trying to get them to do something, they can't figure it out. And so they just go into oh shit mode and blow up. And so once I get them there, and then it's like, oh shit, okay, that didn't work. You back up and the way, and I find myself doing it all the time, is I'll get into a situation, shit'll happen and go sideways. Well, that didn't work. And then I just completely restart everything and do it all over again. And if they don't blow up, I'm like, hey, it worked. God damn.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can live through this.
we got a pallet load of those bricks of wood shavings. It was a bushel or whatever, and and then it's got all the shrink wrap around it, and that is a godsend for any horse, really. Just like you can be walking by them, and it's a calm, clear day, and then all of a sudden you get a little breeze, and that shrink wrap gets to waving, and there's nothing better than making them face up and walk to it. Like take one step, and then I will relax. Take one step towards it, and I'll relax. And then
I see shit like that, I go to it.
Yeah.
I do the exact opposite, guys.
I do too.
I totally fucking ignore it, because my theory is, I don't care if you're scared. But let me preface this with, the way I train horses, I want them to think I am the most dangerous motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah.
Now, absolutely.
But I'm on their side.
Yeah.
I want them to think I'm the most dangerous I want them to act the way I would act if Jake was with me at the bar.
Well, I'm not going to set that entire pallet full of wood shavings on fire, Bret. Okay.
Well, yeah. But like
it'll get me fired.
I want to be like, I want to be the way, I want my horses to be the way I would be if I was at the bar with a SEAL, like a Navy SEAL, not a SEAL.
I don't know. I mean, I think I could take. I think I could take an Aqua SEAL. I don't know if
anything in the world.
I don't think I could take a Navy SEAL.
I can say and do anything I fucking want, because I got the cooler with me. So I want my horses to think I'm a Navy SEAL. They got the cooler. And so no matter what goes down, it doesn't fucking matter, because they're not scared, because I'm not scared. And they're absolutely like, well, the fucking cooler ain't scared. I don't have to worry about it. So like with spooks and stuff, a lot of guys want them to ride up and, take a step forward towards it and accept it or whatever. And there's some of these crazy fuckers that want them to go all the way up and put their nose on it and stuff.
Well, that's dumb.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if you're fucking scared of something. All I want is if you don't pay attention to me, if you take your attention off of me, then some bad shit's gonna happen. But as long as you care what I think, then we're good. Everything's good. Don't worry. I'm not scared of it. If I'm not scared of it, you don't be scared of it. That's my philosophy.
I take it one step a little bit further, and I'll act like I don't care. I don't look. I don't put my eye on what's scaring them, because they can feel where you're looking. That's why a bronc will run into a fence. But I don't look at it. I don't acknowledge it. If anything, I turn my head away from it. But I do too. I am quick to put my feet in their belly. And so the more that they want to snort and booger, I will run iron up into their belly, and I will take a hold of their face, and I will shape their eye away from whatever they're trying to fixate on. And I'll say, never mind, you pay attention to my foot over here. You pay attention to my hand over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the
I do
more
the exact same thing.
The more chronically they spook, the more iron I put in their belly until they decide it's a whole lot better to never mind that over there. And I want my horse more afraid of my feet than anything we encounter along the trail.
I want them to have. I always say this wrong, but I'll try to say it right. I want them to have more respect for my hands than anything they fear, and more respect for my feet than anything they desire.
Yes.
So if they desire to get away, I want them to have more respect for the rowels of my spurs that they'll fucking pounce on that tiger because I told them to. And if they want to run from that tiger, I want them to have so much respect for my hand that they'll stand right there and let that son of a bitch walk right up to them. I want to be the scariest motherfucker on the planet. And
you almost thank the spook for happening because it gave you an opportunity to give that experience.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now hearing y'all talk about this, it's gonna, I guess, help me describe this. And I didn't describe it in a more articulate way like I should have. And I go way back to telling a girl one day that she had a horse that she did a lot of young horse work, a program where she would take the horse up and make it touch everything, as she was leading it, everything. Didn't matter. And I told her, I said, well, what you got to do is you got to teach that horse to look at the forest, not the trees. And so like when Matt was talking about the flapping shrink wrap on the shavings, it wasn't, I guess what I was trying to say is I see that's going to be a distraction. And what I'm going to do is ride past it, ignore it, but want this horse to ignore it at the same time. I don't want him to go up and touch it and do all that, type of stuff. But if I see something, I guess it's going to kind of maybe spook a horse, or I think might challenge them a little bit in their coming up, is to approach that object with a, I guess not necessarily with your eye, but knowing it's there, and then making the horse somewhat just, I don't even know if deal with it's the right word, but it's, like I say, I always look for things to challenge my horse, and, but it's not, So if I see something that's spooking them, it's, I want them to ignore it, but I guess, if I'm asking them to ride towards it, it's not going to the shavings. We're riding in a direction, and I want that horse to do that.
I think what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong here, because this is what I'm hearing. If you're riding up towards those shavings and you see this is something my horse is going to spook at, and we're fucking apex predators, so we see that shit from way off, way before they do. So we see that shit. Here they're going to spook at these shavings, the tarp flapping on the shavings. So I'm going to start training on my horse before he ever gets there, before he ever sees it.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna have my training session end up to where when you get your release from your training, you're standing right here next to the spook, and you don't give a fuck about it because you're getting your release from what I was training on you about.
Yes, sir. Yep, that's it.
That's what I do with spook things, and of course, just like all of us, we all get fucked sometimes and we don't see it. But when I do see it, and 9 times out of 10 I see it before my horse, just like all of us, I'm going to make a big deal out of training, but not out of the spook.
Yeah.
You're saying you're going to use the opportunity to get them off your hand, get them off your leg, get them off your seat, and not you want them to follow you as a leader, so that it's not about the object, it's about you more than anything else.
Yeah.
We're so those of us that are full-time professional colt starters, whether we want to admit it or not, we're super fucking egotistical. Not admit the part that we're full-time colt starters, but whether we want to admit or not that we're super egotistical, we are. And so we want our horses thinking about us all the time.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have to, though.
Well, that's how you stay safe. That's where you started out with trainers are assholes.
Yeah, see, this is where I just can't get in the same mindset as all these horse Karens, because they're like, we got to be, and it goes back to a lot of the clinician type shit. You got to be one with the horse, and like, no, I'm not one with that horse. I'd rather that horse not die, but I'd way rather me not die.
That I not die.
Yeah, I put myself way above any horse, and maybe that's selfish and misogynistic or whatever.
No.
But I
don't think so. Is it? Well, you didn't even say it was a mare.
Well, yeah, that's all I can afford anymore. So that's what I ride.
I can't even afford them.
You're telling me. But yeah, so I mean, you gotta put the horse out there, but like at the end of the day, I'm the motherfucker riding it. So like, yeah, if I gotta stick you in the neck or the shoulder or whatever, jab you in the belly, I don't care. Like I'm gonna, like for me in particular, maybe that stack of shavings was not the greatest example, but like I ride by that shit every fucking day. And so if they're gonna snort, and like I do this with my older horses every now and then, they're gonna snort and run away. Like
I think that was a great example. We just took it a different direction from what you were saying.
Yeah. Oh no, I appreciate what you guys said. It makes a lot of sense. But where I'm coming from, we're like, I still got to go ride past that motherfucker. And if their first instinct is to run away from it, well, my instinct is like, no, you're gonna walk towards it, because like you said, that'll scare me, so it ain't scaring you. And and my iron is gonna be right there in your ribs until you step forward, and then once you step forward, okay, fine, now let's step forward again. Yeah, and it's like if. Depends on how bad they boogered at it. I'm probably not going to put their nose on it, but if they've pissed me off enough, I will.
Oh, for sure.
I've run a few young horses into things.
But if I'm at the point where I'm making their put their nose on a waving piece of saran wrap, like I probably should have stepped off a while ago. Like There's a time to just call it good. Like, yeah, we neither one of us is learning shit today. Let's call this good.
There's no doubt in that. Everybody in this forum has been in that situation.
Yeah.
Where I went too far, I asked too much. I would have been better off to step off and lay you down and tie you down and go get another horse. And that's never really a good answer either.
No, it's not.
Go get another horse.
Like,
that's never really great.
You
answer.
lost that day if you have to go. Like it because of you had to go get another horse. Like you fucked up that day.
For sure.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, and to go back to, not to cut you off, Bret, but to go back to your spooking deal, for me, it's such an important thing for me to ignore them. And like Bret said, for them to think I'm the scariest son of a bitch out there, because when we leave, and if I determine that they're going to go with me and we leave the feedlot, we leave the ranch, we're going to cow camp, and we're up in the hills, and there's black bears and there's wolves and there's everything around the country that's going to want to fucking kill them. So if they're scared of the pallet with a little plastic flapping on it, and they're going to try and fucking leave, and I make the point that I'm scarier than that, by the time they get up in timber and a big old black wolf jumps out and growls at them, they're going to look at him and go, oh, you're just one of the other border collies. I'm not even scared of you. I don't care about you anymore. And so
I got the cooler with me. The man on my back will take care of this.
Yeah.
He'll tell me what to do.
And that happened to me. I was up there a couple years ago, and it was actually a colt that I had started myself. And I don't pride myself on starting my own colts, because if they're mine, nothing gets done right, and it's school of hard knocks, and I feel bad for the poor sons of bitches. But went up there with him, and we get in the timber, and next thing I know is there's a wolf barking there, there's a wolf barking there's one next to me and everything. And everybody's with me, their horses were wigging out and leaving. And that 3-year-old had his head down, walking down the trail. He didn't give a shit that we were surrounded by wolves, because I scared him more than everything around him. And it just, a lot of people don't understand that, and they need to, like one of you said that you have to build a partnership and all that with your horse. That's your partnership, basically. You know, you're the boss, he's the hired man.
That's
and you got to toe the
Yeah.
line, or by God, your ribs are going to come out of place, and shit's going to go bad for you.
Leadership, 1,000%.
Well, you
Yeah.
want him to be the best hired man ever, but he's got to earn it too. You don't treat him like he's the
absolutely.
best hired man until he's earned it.
With that comes a good teacher too.
Yeah. Oh no, that's
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
But you, I don't know. It's my horsemanship changed a lot when I had kids too, because I'm like, oh, like I can't just beat on these kids until they turn out right. It doesn't work that way, you know.
It doesn't.
You mean you're not supposed to tie them up,
Michael
lay down,
Jackson's
put a
dad
tarp
beat
over
him
them?
to success.
Yeah, no, you it's
He beat him white.
it's generally frowned upon when you tie up 3 limbs of your kid and throw a tarp over them, and then
Oh shit! Hey, guys, I gotta go.
it's generally frowned upon. But no, it's my wife said something. She's like, you don't want your kid to resent you too. I mean, like you want to get that message across to him, but you don't want him to hate you for it. And but like there's times where some stern correction is necessary. And
Just like kids, Colts crave a boss.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's 100% right. But you have to set the tone, and sometimes that takes a little more brutality than other times. But there's times where it takes a little bit of brutality to be like, no, this, as Snoop Dogg says, I am he and he is me, or something like that. I forget the
I thought that was Popeye. But
Oh.
I am who I am.
Popeye, Snoop Dogg, basically
Slim with the
character.
tilted brim. What's my motherfucking name? That's yeah. I've done that to a couple horses before. After they finally quit bugging. What's my motherfucking name? Yeah.
Yeah, no shit.
You kind of have to have that, and with your kids too. Like my little boy thinks he's really smart, and he is. But he ain't smart as me yet, so I gotta
Right.
You got a stupid idea there. Like you kind of have to.
Stupid prices.
Well, and playing off your idea there, my horsemanship changed a bunch when I had kids, because prior to that, I didn't care if I lived through the day.
Yeah.
Like
No, that's 100% true.
I just honestly it made no fucking difference to me if I died or not.
Your health and well-being meant fucking nothing. It's not even there. You're like, I don't care. It's just like you didn't even think about it.
No, yeah.
I was
it
more
just
afraid of
meaningless.
huge doctor bills than dying.
Yeah, well, with my biggest fear in life prior to having kids, I had 2 fears. One was hunger. That one still gets me. And the other one was having to lay on my parents' couch and heal up. Like the only thing that fucking bothered me was, man, this better kill me, because I don't want to lay on mom and dad's couch while I heal up.
So relatable.
And so, but then I had kids, and I was like, fuck, I've got to be here for a while. I need to rethink my whole everything, my whole milieu. It was a difficult situation, actually.
Yeah, well, and like every time where you get a little bit out of breath when you shouldn't get out of breath, and be like, fuck, I still got to chase these fuckers around for 18 years, like I better get in shape,
Hit the rowing machine a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess for me it was getting married is, I guess, kind of what changed, the way having kids affected y'all. Getting married to Amy affected me, I guess, more or less the same way. Is I need to be here for her. And I still do some stupid shit, and she still, she says, do you think that's a good idea? And I'll say, well, no, but I'm going to do it anyway. But yeah, I use my head a little bit more, you know, when it comes to let's just say dangerous situations, and because I got to think about her. And
motherfucking fruit roll up over there. I like it.
Hell yeah, man. I may or may not have the munchies right now.
I like it. Well,
may or may not have munchies.
I'm gonna say let's call. I got one thing to end it on, and Tommy, unless you got something else to, we'll go into the Patreon episode after this. But I gotta go piss real bad. But Tommy, do you got anything you wanna? Or anybody, I guess we'll do like a little round, but I'll start it with you, Tommy. You got anything you want to?
No, I think this was great. I enjoyed the conversation, and you got a hell of a format to do this on, and I just love talking horses with all these guys.
Hell yeah, Cliff and Dan, what do y'all got?
I love it. I'm a big fan of good energy, and this was like really good chemistry, good energy with everybody. Where I don't know, it just the whole vibe was really good, and I think that's really important. That creates something that I really want to invest myself in. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing it too.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I agree. I love these conversations. I just saw Bret a week or two ago, and we sat and had a lot of conversations, and I had a lot of conversations with Cliff, and being part of this just it makes what we do pretty special.
Awesome. Well, Jake, how about you?
Oh, it's pretty easy to go with a deal like this because, you know, talking to guys like this, everybody kind of has the same deals, but you can just build off of things that you hear from everybody else, and it just flows and works, and nobody's trying to tell you, you're stupid and you're doing it wrong.
Yes, sir.
So y'all make me feel less weird.
Bret, you got any closing thoughts before we take a piss break and come back?
Yeah, the only closing thoughts I have is this conversation. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I would always try to get around the old guys, and I guess from when I was a kid, we're all the old guys.
I'm getting to be an old guy.
Yeah, and a lot of them were obviously a lot older than any of us are, but I always tried to get around those old guys, and they kind of didn't want me around, and I kind of have to sneak around and this and that and hide out and stay in the corner and smoke some cigarettes and not talk and just listen. And it's just cool. It's cool to have this conversation because it's the same deal where nobody really argued. And everybody went, "Oh, I get what you're saying there."
Yeah, then somebody else, like I know me personally, I said, "Let me rephrase what I had to say because I didn't say it the right way." And that's not saying like, "No, you're wrong." That's like, "No, I said that wrong."
I didn't mean what I said. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, no, and even if you didn't meant what you said, be like, I could have said that better. And that, like, I think that's so important to be able to do that and come back and be like, all right, what you guys make great points. Cause you guys all really did but the point I was trying to make was not quite, but you guys all, I mean, it's a good discussion. And I love great conversation. I love talking horses. I love talking cattle. I love talking cowboy shit. I love talking man shit. And I don't care if there's ladies on the show or whatever. I love talking man shit. When you're on this show, it's a man. It needs to be done. It's a man. Needs to be done. It's a man conversation. And the cowboy world, up until not very long ago, was a man's world. And is it changing? Maybe. So there's some handy ladies out there. Don't get me wrong. There's some really fucking handy ladies out there, but it's still a man's world because sometimes it takes a man to tip over that steer. It takes a man to spur down that bronc, and there's nothing fucking wrong with that. But when I guess I'll leave everybody with this. When I said like my thoughts changed when I had kids. Like I've never been afraid to be rough with the horse. I'm still not afraid to be rough with a horse because I know what a horse is. I know what a horse can do. I've been on the receiving end when a horse decided to be rough, and it's not fun. I've also been on the side of things where I've had to be a little rough on my kids, and they needed it. But I've got to where I think of my horses and my kids in the same way. Like, I'll be rough on them when I have to, but I'd way rather teach them not to get in that situation where I got to be rough.
Yeah.
And it reshapes your entire focus, and so it brings a little bit of legitimacy to the horse Karens that say you be one with the horse. Because I mean, you do got to know the horse. The horse has a personality just like any other human on earth. And going back to the original, when we first started talking is, I don't know. I know I've said it many a times on this show, but one of the guys that I rode Colts for, he said, if they want to act like a pig, we'll treat them like a pig. If they want to act like a horse, we'll treat them like a horse. And if they want to act like a good horse, we will treat them as good as they want to be treated. And, but yeah, if they want to act like a pig, we're going to treat them like a pig. And it's kind of the same way with my kids when they learn something, how to do shit, and they decide not to do it the right way. We're like, all right, well, we'll treat you that way and see how you like it. And eventually they act right. It's, it's kind of how it works. But anyways, fellas, I enjoyed this conversation really well. And we're going to, if everybody's got a little bit extra time, we might as well dive into nonviolent equestrians and break that shit apart. Is everybody game for that?
I'm here. Oh
yeah. All right, cool. So if you want to listen to that, you got to join, you got to pay me for it. So patreon.com/Burnin Daylight. Yeah. Tommy Gesell on Facebook, Jake Torgeson on Facebook, Cliff Schadt on Facebook,
Yep.
Bret Davis on Facebook, and Dan, what's your socials?
Moltion on Facebook.
Molten, Molten, Ion, Molt.
It throws me off. I think it's Molten.
Molten.
I thought it was Moltion. It's all a mess.
All right. Well, spell it for us, and then
Moltion.
Moltion.
Yeah, that's how I thought of it.
Moltion in the Olcean. All right. And on that note, move your out. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Just together, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.